Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Nice. All right, guys, welcome to our first event. 1 second, let me pull up the slides. All right. So, welcome everybody to our first event. This is a career talk. We're helping you guys today with your careers, right? We have a couple of great great presenters today. They'll be talking to you guys about different career options and just giving you general tips where our main focus here at this in this club is to help you guys become entrepreneurs, right? Give you good skills that you can use in your careers, and we're focused on developing that aspect in your student lives. Okay. All right, so let's get on with it. So I'm Jordan McCoy, right? I'll be one of your event moderators today. Our other event moderator is Sean Grant. He's our vice president, right? So
Okay, can everyone hear me?
yes, we can.
Okay, so good afternoon again, everyone. So for today's event, we're going to review our code of conduct and then introduce the core team as well as our advisory board. And then we'll get right into it with our first speaker, Hakeem Moore, followed by Damani Brown, then Earl Stewart Jr., and Stephen Scale. Okay, so
First, let's have a little video. Just a little feel good vibes. Oh, Sean, that arrow.
let me try to share my screen. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Caterpillar that becomes a butterfly, you too were born to fly.
I was born with everything I need to be me, with wings inside my mind to set me free. I know I've got vision more than my eyes can see, and I know I rule my destiny. So no matter how hard you try, no, you can never change my mind. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I.
So can I, yeah.
I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I. Hey, watch out now. This a for every caterpillar member say you can fly. Don't watch no mosquito or no sunfly. Don't sit down and complain, get up and try. Say the word, the whole universe comply. Aye.
Work on your goals and build them. Take time and sharpen your skills then.
And your dreams don't make no one kill them. Them soon see your wings then. And no matter how
you try,
there's a fact they can't deny. If caterpillars can fly,
so can I.
so can I, yeah. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I, so can I, yeah. Yes, I know that I can fly, for I've learned the laws of life. I know that caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I. I was born with everything I need to be me. Things inside my mind to set me free. I know I've got vision more than my eyes can see. And I know I rule my destiny. So no matter how you try, no, you will never change my mind. I know if caterpillars can fly, so can I, yeah. If caterpillars can fly, so can I. So can I. Ooh.
All right, that was a lovely song. All right, so let me share my screen. All right, onto our code of conducts for the club. So here are some ground rules for how our members are expected to behave in this club. Right? Everyone must refrain from any discriminating behavior or speech. So no racism, no sexual, none of that. No harassment. No, just keep it professional and keep it, clean. Right? We all want to have fun here. We all want to have a productive work environment also. So let's try to keep it, free from any hate speech, harassment, derogatory and demeaning conduct, all of that, right? So the community also thrives if members are welcoming, respectful, and courteous to one another, regardless of differences in opinion. So any political views that you have or any preconceived hate that you have against anything else, just please leave that at the door. We're welcome to everyone, right? We're just trying to have fun, you guys. And communication should be constructive and please keep it spam free, right? No inappropriate content or insulting content also. All right, guys? So no. Sean?
Okay, so let me introduce everyone to the core team. These are the people that are in charge of planning and running the club. So first we have Jamie Lee Smith, who is our GDSC lead. Then myself, Sean Grant, Ashley Lewis, Hakeem Watson, sorry, Jordan McCoy, and Shaquille Barnett. And our advisor board, which consists of Sean Thorpe, Stephen Scale, Larkland Morley, Sophia McNamara, Akindale Hickling, Antoinette Brown, and Damian Hines.
Thank you for that, Sean. Let's see. Okay, I'm not seeing him in chat, but Hakeem Moore is a software developer for Shift Left Limited. He's not in chat, so we'll move on to the next person. Yeah, he's not in chat, so we'll move on to the next person and go back to him when he joins us. All right, so Damani Brown is a digital transformation lead at the Jamaica Public Service. He'll be up next. Damani.
All right, afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Trying to look and see if you guys can see me.
Yes, we can see you.
So this thing don't give me no nice fancy background. Right? After more want a nice fancy background, but there's no fancy background. Anyway, so how you guys doing? Akeem and Sean and Jordan. You guys are good?
Yes, sir. We're doing good, sir. How about you?
We're good.
Well, I'm a little tired, but I'm so grateful. It's such an amazing day. It's a great day. It's been a lot of meetings, a lot of things going back to back. But we're almost at the end of the day, so hopefully I can get some sleep by tomorrow night or something like that. But yeah, so my name is Damani Brown. I work with JPS. I'm the digital transformation lead there. Previously, IT service management at the same JPS. Before that, I was at Fly Jamaica, Sagicor, Bank and Investments, Ministry of Justice, all of those places within the field of IT. So I started out my career as a technician, and I've pretty much done a few different jobs. I've worked the help desk, I've worked end of day operations, I've done web development, um, data center management, service desk management, and now digital transformation. So it's been quite a journey. I just wanted to kind of share a little bit with you about that, to kind of give you some context of things that you might want to find out or ask me about whenever I'm finished with this little talk, right? So pretty much what I do for work is that I help to find digital solutions for problems by leveraging technology and industry best practices, right? Um, so what does that really mean, though? Yeah. Well, it's actually one of my two major functions. So that is one, finding digital solutions to problem. What does that mean? Well, pretty much I would look throughout the organization and see where there are opportunities to apply some digital technology, piece of technology, to a process to make it more efficient, right? But digital transformation in itself is a little more than just processes. Is about actually transforming the mindsets of people, because you will hear in your studies that most IT projects fail, right? And they fail because adoption tends to be very low based on just how persons perceive technology, their skill sets, how us as the IT professionals, how we went about gathering the requirements and the solution that we came up with. There's oftentimes a huge disparity there. So it's a huge component of digital transformation is moving people's mindsets to a place that they are open to adopting digital tools and technologies, because we're talking about disruptions in various markets. Now we're talking about digital transformation, and persons will become apprehensive and afraid because this might mean that they might lose their jobs, for example. So there is a lot of things that you have to think about in terms of just bringing the individual on the journey, which is a huge component of digital transformation. So the second thing that I do is that I pretty much oversee a collection of projects, right, that are supposed to help to digitally transform JPS. So I'm also like a programmer or portfolio manager, right? Like a program manager. So I deal with a combination of different projects, and I basically try to ensure that there is alignment between all of the projects. So for example, when we look at, let's say for example, we're doing something with data governance, or doing something with process digitization. So we're looking for processes that are manual and we want to digitize them. We have over here now something that has to do with establishing governance throughout the various departments and divisions. And let's say we have another project now that is about looking at all the technology that we have in the organization and optimizing it, finding which technologies have the same capabilities, where there are redundancies, and throwing them out through the window. Now, when those three projects are running simultaneously, you might have areas of overlap, and there needs to be some consideration how the targets of one will impact the targets of the other. So, for example, you don't want to be trying to digitize something that there is a piece of technology that we already paid for that can do it with half of the effort, right? So you need to be looking and saying, all right, based on what is going on over in this stream, what do we need to do here with this project in order to ensure it doesn't clash with this one? And remember at the same time that there is the data governance over here that is doing something totally different. And you need to ensure that every time a project process is digitized, is it falling within the data governance framework? And that's a separate project over there. So I do a bit of project and portfolio management, as well as looking for solutions, right? I also work a lot with automation technology, so Path and RPA. A section of the team deals with that because we look at how we can automate a lot of these things that human beings would have to spend a good amount of time doing. This some simple tasks, right? Some very simple tasks that we look and see how we can automate them. Now, after that, now the next question was explain what recruiters are looking for in a candidate for this position. Well, pretty much to work in digital transformation, you need to have an analytical mindset. Of course, the general qualifications, you have your first degree in computer science or even engineering, actually. Get your project management qualifications, your process qualifications, things like Scrum, to learn about different agile methodologies. Getting your PMP or your CAPM or one of those things definitely helps a lot. Learning about robotics and automation, doing business process mapping. Those are some of the things that they look for in a candidate. So they want the person to have those technical skills, but they also want the person to have two very important things, in my opinion: a track record of innovation, and then the person must have a mindset of resourcefulness, right? So combined, so they must be analytical, they must be resourceful, they need to be a person who's persistent, and they need to have some track record of innovation to be the digital transformation lead, right? You also need to have a good amount of managerial skill set, because for my job, still have to manage people. So, you need to have all of those things together. For the interview, well, I didn't really interview for this particular working. As I said before, I was running the IT service management team, and this, they needed some help over here with this particular initiative, and I was just brought over there because whilst working with IT service management, I did a number of projects that really helped to optimize and transform how we do things inside of the organization, from just the computers we use to how we do our printing, to how someone is onboarded into the organization. So I had a little track record of always looking for innovative solutions, and ways to do things easier and get them standardized. Spend a good amount of time writing policies, and I do some of that now as well. A little bit of that now. So if you want to land a job in this field, after you leave university, I would say to you, go and get your certifications, and go and get some certification in something agile. Scrum is a very, very big thing because it goes very well with digital transformation. Go and get certified in project management. Well, Scrum is a type of project management, kind of. Go and learn about business process management. Go and get some certifications in, RPA, that sort of thing. Get some experience in coding and solving real world problems, right? Then you need to learn how to, how to integrate people with processes and technology. That's a very important skill for you to have. That comes with time and experience. Some people have it naturally, but most people don't. And when I say most, like the overwhelming majority, most don't. So if you have 1,000 people, probably is two of them have that naturally. But you have to learn how those three things integrate: people, technology, and processes. Finally, I would say don't focus so much on the cool things that you can do, which is a common problem that IT professionals generally have. We are really excited about the tech, really excited about the code, and we say, all right, we want to do this. We want to build a rocket that goes to the moon, and we can put on that rocket some fingerprint scanners, and we can put on it something that lights up and turns blue, and it turns ice into orange juice, and it does all sorts of things. And we think it's really cool when the user or the person with the problem actually just wants something really simple. And most IT people are guilty of this. So they don't spend enough time doing proper requirements gathering, listening to what persons are saying, developing a skill set to be able to identify what the real problems are that people have, and try to add value by solving the problem that the person actually has. Sometimes people just really need just a form. They don't need a whole new software. They just need a form so that they can record their daily log. You get me? So moving that from a non-existent piece of non-existent application or a manual process into something that they can take up their phones and just do it like that. Just something very simple, but you have to look at what it is that is the person's real problem and provide real solutions. So that I'd also say to you, get familiar with technology stacks that work well together so that you can offer solutions that are robust to your employer or to whichever person you're working with or working for. And so when I'm talking about robust solutions now, you want to ensure that you have one, something that is built for the future so it can withstand the test of time, or if it's not intended to last a very long time, that you have a plan for the iterative step, because that's a whole thing around agile, where you just develop a MVP, which is a minimum viable product, and then you take it iterative steps from there to improve the product. But you'd want to know what the capacities and limitations of your technology stack are. So I'll give you an example. Let us say you're using the Microsoft technology stack. You might use things like Power Automate, Power Apps. You might use Planner. You might use SharePoint. You might combine with that RPA. And so all of those things are things that are within the Microsoft technology stack that you'll use. But the limitations of, say, a Microsoft Forms, which doesn't allow you to do advanced data analysis or checks when persons are entering stuff on the form. So if you're doing an MVP and you're going to use a form for that, you know that the extent of the functionality is limited that you're going to have. But for whatever you're doing in the future, you need to look at something that will integrate well with your stack of Microsoft applications. And that's pretty much what it is, how it works, what you need to know, what are the qualifications that you need, what are the certificates that you need. If there are any questions, I would be more than happy to take them at this time.
Brittany Jackson was asking, which is better, overall project management certification or specific project management certification? or does it varies based on the type of job being hired for?
Okay, Brittany. Is it Brittany or Brittany? Brittany, that's an excellent question. So it depends. It depends on what you want to do. So if you do, all right, let me answer you starting this way. The traditional project management certification that's tried and true and tested is the PMP, right? Project Management Professional. Now, in order to get your PMP, you have to have some about 4 years worth of project experience where you are leading the projects. So it is something that was universal. You can always apply those things. But if you want, you can actually look and say, all right, then I want to work with some in a more agile way, which is where a lot of the organizations are going. So whilst the PMP can give you something that will work for everything, when you get your Scrum, no, it's more specific because it teaches you how to manage a project in a specific agile way. And you might find that organizations are more drawn to that, especially as digital transformation becomes more of a normal thing within the organization. That sense of disruption and that type of thing, you find that having the specific certifications help a whole lot. So I don't know if that answers your question. And you asked if it varies based on the job being offered. Yes, it will vary based on the job. If you are a straight out project manager, you'll more than likely need a PMP. If it's a team that is working with Scrum, then they'll specify for Scrum. So it really depends. I'd say to you that it's much easier to get your Scrum certs and that sort of thing. So I would have to tell you to start there. You can get one of the PMI's certifications that they offer for persons who don't have a lot of experience, so that can work. Yeah. We have our next question here. It says, as a student, it may be difficult to afford these kinds of courses. Are there any certifications that have similar weighting to paid? Okay. I don't know all of the certs that are out there. But what I can say is that you have a lot of websites that offer free training. Udemy offers some free training in Scrum, but none of the official professional certifications are available for free. You have to pay for them, right? And that's the reason you have to pay for them, is that it preserves the integrity of the qualification. Yeah. So there are no real free ones that are like the major certs that people are looking for. Yeah, but there are some free precursor courses that you can take. Okay. How do we go about getting a project management certification? All right. I hope that answered your question, Cassandra. And then the next question is from Romario. How do we go about getting a project management certification? All right. So you're welcome, Brittany, and you're welcome, Cassandra. So let us say you're just coming out of university, you don't have a lot of experience. You want to get official certification in project management. Well, the place that you would start is the CAPM, which is the certificate in project management, right? Or a certificate in applied project management, the CAPM. Now, the CAPM is for persons who don't have a lot of project experience and they are working on projects. No E, so it's CAPM, right? They're working on projects as a project resource or a project coordinator or something like that, right? So you start right there with the CAPM. That's the first one that you can get. Then you can do, in order to get the PMP, it just really and truly is going to take time, or unless you want to, be brave and try and just swat for the exam and do it yourself. And why I say that is, when you're doing the PMP, they do a sample screening of 5% of the cohort to ensure that persons have the adequate experience. It's how they maintain the legitimacy of the certification. So what would have to happen is that you'd have to fill out a form with all the projects that you have worked on. And you need to do the prerequisite training, of course, and then you can pay for your examination and go and sit it for your PMP exam, right? Now, 5% of the persons from every country randomly get selected and they do a verification of all the projects. So, I mean, you could make up some fake stuff and submit it, but I don't think that's ethical. So I wouldn't recommend that you do that. But really and truly, the only way to get there for the PMP is just with time. You have to work on some projects and lead some projects, and then you can apply for your PMP. I hope that helps. Any more questions? Okay, so I'm guessing university projects don't count, only real work projects in companies or club related projects. All right, so that's an excellent question again, Brittany, and you're welcome, Romario. So the projects that you work on in university don't count as project hours because according to the Project Management Institute, a project has a budget and they actually have a minimum amount. Like I think their projects start, minimum should be something like 100,000 US, I think, or 10,000 US, I don't remember. But they have a minimum amount that they use and quantify what they consider a project. So a project must have a budget, it must have a scope, it must have a start and end time, right? So once those parameters are there, then it would count. So if you're working on something for school, if it has a budget, if it has a scope and an end time, then yes, you could use it. But they generally don't count. School projects generally don't count. It's mostly real work and stuff that you do for, yeah, as you say, if you're working for a club or even if you're doing a project at home, you know, where you're managing the construction of your new 6-bedroom apartment complex, you know what I mean? That can be included. So I hope that answers your question, Brittany. All right, so if there are no further questions, any questions around digital transformation, anything anybody needs to there, so would a low budget project be considered? As I said, if the project budget is very tiny, it generally isn't considered, because they have a minimum threshold. I believe it's 100,000 US. I don't remember, but I believe so, or 50,000 US, something like that. There's some couple tens of thousand US. I don't remember. How hard is it to convince users to migrate to a new system? Well, this is a very interesting question. I want to answer you like this. A part of the problem that we have with IT professionals dealing with persons who are non-technical is that we approach them from the wrong angle. You know, we approach them to say, yo, you need to move to a new system for whatever reason, which that's not necessarily the best angle. You have to come from the angle of what is the problem that you have. So when you approach things from, you know, you're experiencing this problem, here is a solution to your problem. Or what do you think would be the best solution for you? And based on what they have said, you meet those minimum requirements and add on top of it. So if you do that, you can bring persons, on board to use any system that you need them to use. Yeah, it's about how you engage your stakeholders, communicating to them early, explaining to them what is happening, showing them the value, showing them how it's going to impact them. Anytime you're trying to deal with anything with like new technology in spaces, it's you have to make it about the person, it's not about you. And as I say, it's a common mistake that IT professionals make, where you have to make it about the user because it's not about you. Kadhai, all right, I don't know how to pronounce your first name, so I'm just going to call you Miss Price. All right. Kadia. Okay. All right, Kadia.
So, Damani, we're just going to take the last question and then we'll move to the other speaker. You can go ahead.
All right, sure, no problem. A stakeholder is someone who is impacted by a project or influences the decisions related to a project, right? So anybody who the project will affect is a stakeholder.
Thank you. I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much. We're going to move to Akeem Moore. Welcome, sir. I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself. He's a software developer from Shift Left Limited. Welcome, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, good. So as I was introduced, I'm Akeem Moore, a software developer, right? For years, I actually worked as an IT and computer science teacher. And then a few years ago, I made the switch to software development, right? Which is what I'm currently doing. Right, so currently I'm here to try to assist you in understanding what are the things that can make you work ready, so to speak, so that when you go on an interview, as much as possible, you try to move to the front of the line, right? So that's basically what I'm going to be doing, right? Now, the list I'm going to give you is not in any particular order. If I think something is important, I'll highlight it, right? But this is not in any particular order, right? All right, so one of the first things that I think is important is source code management tool, right? The most popular of which is Git, right? Using some platform like GitLab, GitHub, or Bitbucket, right? Being familiar with a source code management tool is one of the things that indicate that you're actually ready. In any large company or medium-sized company, you will definitely be using Git, right? So it is actually worth it while you're at university to ensure that you're comfortable with this tool, right? And that'll be the first one. The second item I would highlight is knowing how to interact with APIs, application programming interfaces, right? In today's world, we do not do everything locally. When we want data, we go to some source to get the data, and we do that through an API. Right now, there are two things that you want to do. You want to be able to interact with an API in terms of retrieving data, updating data, and you also want to know how to build your own API. Right? You want to build an API from scratch for whatever project that you might come up with on your own. Right? So knowing how to interact with APIs and knowing how to build APIs is the second thing that will make you work ready. Good. The third one, of course, and I just want to highlight that this is an opinionated list. This is based on my experience. The third one is software design. And I'm not sure software engineering or course, but in software development, design patterns are a common solution to a problem. So for example, you have like the factory pattern, the singleton pattern, right? Many students like to say sometimes, oh, I like to come up with a unique solution. And while that is appropriate sometimes, in many circumstances, it is actually best to work with an established solution. So in software development, you can do that by looking into design patterns. If you're not aware of it, you can look into a book by a group called the Gang of Four, and learn more what design patterns are, right? Why design patterns important? Because there's a chance to be working on complex software that you need to be stable and dependable. I repeat, complex software that you need to be stable and dependable. So in those cases, you want to work with an established solution, right? So that would be the third item I think will make you work ready, design patterns. The next one speaks to cloud technologies. Now, the three main cloud technologies today, not the only ones, but the three main ones are, of course, AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is the market leader. And number two, coming in, you have Microsoft Azure. And third, of course, we have Google Cloud. Right? Now, all of these cloud services have what we call a free tier, meaning whether you're a student or anyone, you can actually sign up for their services and use it in a limited manner for free so that you can get familiar with the technology. Many organizations today are migrating to the cloud. So when you leave school and applying for a job, it's very good that there's a very good chance that the company won't have, but rather they'll be using some cloud infrastructure like AWS, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, right? Sign up and make use of the free tier so you can learn and become familiar with these cloud services. Now, speaking about certifications, which you heard about in the previous talk, each of these organizations, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud, they have certifications that you can do, right? Which can indicate that you're comfortable with these technologies. If you're interested in that area, you can start doing certifications in them, right? The next one, in my idea, would be personal projects, right? Now, keep in mind, I think that personal projects, from a software developer point of view, are more effective for making you work ready than certifications, right? I'm not saying one is more important than the other. Certifications are still important, but personal projects are extremely important in demonstrating that something done. So you should have your own personal projects. You should have a Git repository, and the projects that you work on should be public so they can be seen by employers, right? And speaking about the cloud services, you can actually deploy them using a free tier to a cloud service so that employers can actually see it in use, right? The next one is what we call CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous development. This might fall under something called DevOps, right? CI/CD speaks to the fact that the software development process is now automated. Once you write code, you no longer have to manually build it, nor do you have to manually deploy the software, right? All of those steps are automated. And most large organizations today have their system automated using CI/CD. So if you want to make your work ready, then you should be familiar with the CI/CD process. And again, going back to the cloud services, all of them have tools to help you learn about CI/CD that you can use at the free tier and you can practice while in school. The next thing to make you work ready, of course, is teamwork, right? Many of us in universities, sometimes we do not like group projects, but group projects are actually indicative of what happens in the real world, right? I know sometimes on TV we see persons working on a program in the dark, all alone by themselves. In the real world, you're part of a team. You have a team lead, and you're given specific things to do as part of a team. And then you have to merge your work into someone else's work. So in other words, they're going to be doing teamwork. Now, what can you do to indicate this? We spoke about personal projects earlier. What would be great, I think personally, is if a group of students come together and work on a personal project together. So you might have a team of 2, 3, 4, or 5, right? and you didn't just build the project by yourself, but you built it in the context of a team using a source code management tool. So all of these things, I'm telling you, a lot of them kind of work together, right? But teamwork is very important, and you have to indicate to an organization that, yes, I know how to work as part of a team. And having a personal project that was built by a team is a great way to illustrate this, I think, right? Next one, willingness to learn, willingness and ability to learn new things. This is IT, things change regularly, right? There are always new frameworks, right? So you have to show the ability to indicate that you can get things done or you can learn things quickly. So you have to make the effort. You have to go and do a Udemy course or Pluralsight or LinkedIn Learning, any of these online resources, Linda, YouTube, which is one of the greatest, I think, and learn things quickly so you can get it done on the job, right? In relation to these skills, I also want to highlight that I think learning foundation skills come before learning new frameworks. So for example, everybody speak about frameworks like React, Vue, Meteor, right? These are all great and you should learn them. But if you're going to learn React, you also want to know JavaScript well before you learn React. Learn CSS well before you learn Bootstrap, right? And that will be better for you. And finally, certifications. Certifications are great. I've earned some certifications myself, and they have helped me greatly in my career, right? So you want to look at certifications. You have Microsoft certifications, AWS, they're great. But I want to highlight that this is a personal opinion. I think it's better to study for a certification when you have a job. And this is in relation to programming, right? Software development, right? You gain more as an individual from the certification if you're actually doing the work. So for example, a student might study for a certification, for example, a database certification, even though they're not actually doing any work with that database. While you'll be able to pass the exam, you won't have the mastery. If you study for the certification while you're doing a job, then that brings more benefit, I think. And this is not to say this is the only way you can do a certification before, but I personally think it brings more benefit if when you get a job using SQL Server, for example, then you do a certification in SQL Server. And you doing the job actually complements you certification, right? But if you decide to do the certification even before you work with a particular technology, that's also great. Right? Now, based on my personal experience, these are the things that I would strongly recommend to students to be familiar with. I repeat, being familiar with source code management, Git, being familiar with APIs, knowing software design patterns, being familiar with cloud technologies, having personal projects, being familiar with DevOps, the CI/CD pipeline, knowing how to work effectively as part of a team, being willing and able to learn new skills, and finally, earning certifications. Right? That's it. Right. So at this point, I'll be willing to answer questions anyone may have.
In the interest of times, we'll be taking like two questions. So anybody has any question? All right, Sean says great presentation. How would you recommend getting started with CI/CD?
Okay, so now first thing, if you don't have the resources, so actually the cloud technologies are actually great, right? So for example, Microsoft DevOps, right? Or Azure DevOps rather, right? So if you get an Azure account, you can start learning about Azure DevOps. Now, the great thing about Microsoft, and this is the case for familiar with Microsoft, They have a lot of resources online for you to learn. They have some paid courses which are more expensive, but they also have content online that you can read and study. Right? So if you want to learn about CI/CD, use one of the 3 main cloud technologies: Google Cloud, AWS, Microsoft Azure, and the free tier will have the feature that you can practice with. So you can practice building a software and automating the deployment using Google Cloud, AWS, or Microsoft Azure. So make use of one of the 3 cloud technologies to assist you in learning CI/CD. Next question.
Any more questions, guys? Can take one more. Okay.
No questions?
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you very much. That was a very informative presentation. All right.
You're welcome. Everyone, take care.
All right. So our next presenter will be Mr. Earl Stewart Jr. Mr. Stewart Jr., are you here?
Earl? All right, let us just move to Stephen Scale at this time until Sir Earl.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Hear loud and clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, good afternoon. My name is Stephen Scale. I am the general manager at Solitech Innovation Limited, where we provide information technology services to solve problems primarily for business users, for corporations, companies, particularly in the financial sector, but not limited to. We also develop innovative solutions for consumer to business that really focus on connecting consumers to the businesses and the services and the products that they would want to use or that they would want to get benefits from. But primarily, we provide consultancy, information, and technology services to corporate companies. So my background is in data management, data analytics, business intelligence, stemming from my first job where I worked at Digicel Jamaica Limited in their data warehouse department, where we developed data warehouse and provided data support for the entire Caribbean, right? And during my role there at Digicel, I interviewed perhaps hundreds of students. So my objective this evening is to share my experience and to help to guide you as current students as to what you can do to prepare yourselves for the professional, for the work, for the career, for your career, right? I also worked at the National Commercial Bank for a few years at NCB, where I learned the financial sector, the financial space, learned about banking, investment, and that experience has ordered well in helping and supporting me in my current role as general manager at Solitech Innovation Limited, where we provide consultancy services to many of the major banks in Jamaica, also in the Caribbean. All right, so going along with what I've been asked to share here. All right, so as a general manager, I am responsible for the strategic leadership of the organization. We set goals, vision for the company, and we manage. I manage the organization, manage the staff, manage the operations to ensure that we meet the goals that the company and the board of directors have established for the company, right? And very important in that is the people, right? The team. It is a team that's going to work together to accomplish what the organization sets out to accomplish. And when we look to add persons to that team, there are some specific characteristics that we look for, right? It is known by employers that when you're hiring students or persons who are just leaving school, that they won't necessarily have all the skills and the experience necessary to fulfill the qualifications of the job, right? I mean, if you have ever looked at requirements, you'd have seen, the requirement for 3 to 5 years experience. You'd have seen all of these technical skills listed out, and you may be intimidated by that because you may say to yourself, how am I supposed to get this experience if I cannot get hired without experience? Like it's like a chicken and egg scenario. You have to work to get experience, and you have that experience to get work, right? So that poses a dilemma for many who are seeking jobs or are seeking to break into their career and into a particular professional vocation. But I want to say to you that there are a number of opportunities for you to acquire experience. And one of the things I want to share as well is that you are in a unique time where there's a significant demand for information technology practitioners. I just finished a stint as the internship coordinator at UTech, where there are more opportunities than there are students to fill those opportunities. Even in my role at Soltech Innovation Limited, I am often challenged for finding students who can meet the needs. We have consultancy needs, clients need persons to work on projects, and it's just impossible to find enough persons with sufficient level of skill or aptitude to work in these projects. So the point I'm making is that there's a significant demand, and you are in a great position to prepare yourselves to capitalize on those opportunities and the demands that are there. So what are some of the things that you can do to capitalize on that demand, and what it is that recruiters are actually looking for in candidates, right? So I'll break them into two high-level aspects. You have the attitude and you have the aptitude, the actual skills. So the attitude that you must foster and develop from now, right? Not waiting until you get into the professional space. So you want to be a problem solver, right? So you want to be a problem solver, right? Organizations are looking for persons who have a track record in solving problems or in innovation. I heard Damani mention it earlier, right? There are a lot of problems out there to be solved. In your school or your academic life or career, each module, each course that you do comes with its own problems or challenges. And you have to develop the ability to find innovative ways of solving those problems, right? No problem is insurmountable, right? A lot of persons give up and do not, or they think it's too hard for them to overcome certain challenges, and therefore they may not apply themselves. But there are a lot of opportunities for you to find problems. In fact, one of the modules that I do teach at UTech, I'm also a lecturer at UTech. One of the modules, IS Innovation, there are websites like Innocentive, right? That you can find problems that persons are paying, offering money for solutions, right? And you don't even necessarily have to develop the solutions, or not in full anyway. You can do prototypes or minimum viable products, or just create a design to solve problems. So one of the things you want to do is get a lot of experience in solving problems, right? So don't back away from problems. Look for opportunities to solve problems and develop a portfolio. Hakeem mentioned it in terms of creating your portfolio. So one of the things that you want to start working on while you're in university is you want to develop a portfolio. The class projects that you do, right? These are invaluable opportunities to solve problems and to gain experience. As we were, Brittany asked a question, how are the ways to acquire experience based on those extreme experiences asked for in a job requirements? One of the ways that you work on personal projects or academic projects. So you don't want to do what I find a lot of students do. They do it just to get a pass, right? They just want to do enough to get a grade. You want to treat these as opportunities to put your best foot forward, right? To impress, to develop your own skills, your own experience, and create a portfolio that you can show, demonstrate to your potential employer that, listen, I have the experience in solving problems. I got a school project, a team project, and we solved or we delivered this project by, diving deep and learning new technology that weren't necessarily familiar with. We went above and beyond in order to solve this problem, right? And develop that portfolio from year one, from it gets started, and build on that. Keep a repository, GitHub, or just whatever the nature of the solution is. I know that there are diversity in terms of the types of projects that you may work on. Some persons work in information systems, some of your designers, developers, and things like that. But whatever your area of interest is, develop your portfolio within that. And that counts towards that experience that they may ask for, right? So problem solving and innovation. Another important skill that we look for as employers is time management. Time management. How do you manage situations where you're under pressure? You have a lot of things to be done. How do you work through the myriads of projects that you may have and responsibilities, right? The ability to prioritize, the ability to even delegate things that you don't necessarily have to do, and the ability to manage and juggle multiple things and streamline your work and not shortchange any of your responsibilities is something that I often ask candidates in interviews, right? How do you manage when you're under pressure, right? If you have 3 projects due this weekend, and the weekend is coming up and there are a few days, right? How do you handle that sort of situation where you get these projects and you have to manage it and you have tests coming up and things like that? Because in the professional world, you're going to be under pressure, right? The man mentioned the number of projects that he has to manage and team and all of that. So you're going to have develop that ability to manage multiple projects and to prioritize and to streamline to meet all of your deliverables. All right. And the other skill that I want to point out is leadership. Leadership. Right. So I'm a general manager, which means that I lead a team, right? And I lead leaders who also lead teams. So one of the things that you want to develop as early as possible is your leadership skills. Now, there's a debate out there on ending, it seems, whether leaders are born or leaders are developed. I sit on the side of leaders being developed, right? Leaders can be nurtured. They can learn how to be a leader, right? You can learn how to be a leader by finding mentors who are leaders and learning from their experience. You can learn how to be a leader by practice. Don't shy away from responsibility. I find that if you ask persons, students, to who wants to lead the group or who wants to lead the team, everybody is silent. Persons are quiet. Nobody wants to step up. But it takes courage. And I want to encourage you from now, right? It seems daunting. You may think that, boy, you don't like to work with people, and you know, you will manage your own time and manage your own motivation and discipline. But then when it comes to people, listen to me. In the professional world, you're gonna have to work with people. And the previous presenters mentioned it. You don't work in a bubble. You don't work by yourself. You don't work in silos. So if you're going to be successful, or let me put it this way, there's going to be a cap on the level of success that you can achieve by yourself. You're going to have to learn to work with people and to work effectively with people. And it takes practice. And how are you going to get that practice, that experience? You're going to get that through this time that you're in now in the academic space. So seek opportunities to be the leader. All right. So those are the three things I want to leave with you in terms of what employers or recruiters might be looking for. So be a problem solver, develop a track record of solving problems, and keep that portfolio. 2, time management, learn to manage multiple projects, prioritize, and develop that skill. And of course, learn to be a leader. Don't back down, right? Organizations are looking for persons to lead. Leaders are rare. If you can demonstrate your leadership capabilities, then you will become an asset, because leaders can not only influence or work on a limited amount of things, they can actually influence an organization and cause that organization to grow. And that is something that is very rare and will set you ahead of or above the wide range of persons who may be going for that one position that you're looking to get to. All right. Let us see the questions. Time is up on me. So I'll just add those 3 things.
Yeah, we'll take those questions and then on to next.
Sure. All right. So Brittany Jackson asks, as you have stated about time management and managing your time when you have multiple projects and incoming tests, how are we able to give an idea in which or how we're able to look at projects we do in each course more than a pass? All right, good question. All right, so I mentioned priority. It is difficult to manage time if you don't consider the element of priority. So you want to identify projects that are of high value to you in terms of the experience that you'll get from it, whether it might be the difficulty or how it aligns with your career professional aspirations, right? Since you're building a portfolio and you want to create excellent deliverables in your portfolio, then you may have to identify those priority projects. And you can determine priority in different ways, whether the weighting of the project on the course, or as I mentioned before, how it aligns with your professional goals and so forth. And you can allocate sufficient time for that. Time management also means eliminating what you ought not to be doing, right? So a lot of us waste a lot of time on Instagram and social media. So we just have to be a bit more disciplined in terms of how we use our time, right? Break up your time, your days into sets, time blocks, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour time blocks, depends on how much your level of focus and work, discipline, focus within that time. You know, set goals, set short-term goals and work towards those short-term goals in that short block of time. And then you set the time on your phone. When you finish, you see where you're at. You take a short break and you get back at it. Right, so those are just a few tips in terms of working on multiple projects. Prioritize, eliminate some things that you don't need to be doing or things that are low priority, and work within, break it up into small deliverables, small blocks of time, and work within that. Daniel mentioned that recruiters are willing to train candidates. Yes, that's a very good point. So if we find somebody who has the right aptitude, then we are willing to train. As I said, recruiters know that you don't have all the skills that you need, and they have a responsibility and a duty to train you. But what we're looking for is some key things, you know, your ability to learn, that you have a proven track record of solving problems, that you have leadership traits, and you can manage your time. And then we will work with you to get some of the other training, or to provide the other training for you. Most times in being the group leader, you can encourage your team members to do their part. Yes, that's a very important skill that you're going to have to learn, to be able to influence persons, motivate your team, emotional intelligence, to be able to have those conversations with your team members who are not pulling their weight, and to make hard decisions in terms of, if persons are, you have set ultimatums and persons are consistently missing those deadlines and so forth, to make those tough decisions, to cut persons off, take the name off the project and things like that, right? Of course, demonstrating that you'd have given them the opportunity and you'd have spoken to them and intervened, and they still don't do what they ought to do, right? Cassandra said that's a problem with groups. Once you find one where the members are interested in the work and pull their weight, everything is golden, right? And also the ability to choose team members, right? To know what to look for, and not because it's your friends, right? That's also going to be important as a leader and to be successful in teams. All right. Kadia. Okay, that's
There's
enough.
another question.
I think it's a comment, not necessarily a question. Oh, the final question. Is having experience more important than having all the necessary qualification? It's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. No, it depends. That's the answer on the role. Now, most employers or recruiters, I mean, they have a minimum that they're looking for, right? So if the qualification is a bachelor degree in computing or its equivalent, and you do not have that, you may not make the list, right? However, if you can get the attention, you have the experience, but not necessarily the qualification, and you'd have to find a creative way in making that experience really pop out, so that somebody really see it and say, hold on, all right, you know what, let me hear more, or let me invite this person for an interview, because this sort of experience and that this person is demonstrating, even though they are looking at the qualification and I don't see the qualification there, how could this person have this level of experience without having a degree, right? So you'd have to find a creative way of highlighting your strengths, so that even though you may not have the minimum qualification, someone will be interested enough or curious enough to say, you know what, let me find out, how could somebody who don't have the qualification garner this level of experience?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jamie.
We will take Earl Stewart Jr. at this time. Sean, can we?
I'm not sure. Thank you, Mr. Skill. It was a very informative and a very well put together presentation. I'm not I'm not seeing him in chat.
Okay, so we're going to take Earl Stewart Jr. at this time. He's a planning and research director at Jamaica Customs Agency. Welcome, Mr. Stewart. Thank you.
He may have been kicked off the meeting or is rejoining.
Okay.
Okay, he just joined.
Okay. Stewart, I'm not seeing you. Your mic, let me just put.
he is having some
Remove
issues.
him?
What just say?
Someone remove him from the session.
No,
Join Sir.
it's not yet. I think he
No,
wanted
he
to.
told me someone remove him. That's the reason. But he's coming back.
Oh, he's coming back. Okay, not sure what happened there. Kader. Oh, Sean, can you please send a WhatsApp group link to in the chat, please?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Stewart, see you here now. There we go. Welcome, Mr. Stewart.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. All right, so I'll get straight into it because I realized from you guys. So my name is Earl Jr. I'm planning and research with the customs agency. I'll give a little brief background. I have worked on the main system that has been implemented at customs, the Assecuda for system, automated systems data. I was a team lead on the project. I've also stayed the World Bank going across the teach. I'm also a train facilitator. I don't like use the word lecturer. I'm a train facilitator, and I currently also lecture at the university. I want to share with you pretty much based on what I've been necessarily on the technical side. By the way, UTech is my alma mater. In fact, I both my graduate and my master at the university. And I was in the School of Management for the where I specialize in systems. Outside of that, a lot in customs, and I've seen a lot that I want to share with you. Standpoint of using an acronym, what employees are looking for. I as well. Is those who, right? So culture, leadership, intra skills, customer focus, and kind. I want to use that to share of my experience and what I've seen. I've sat on a lot of interviews. I've seen a lot of universities, UTech, UA, NCU, UA persons coming out, and Cameron Maritime University. And some puzzling that person not prepared for it. So respect to all the presenters who have gone before. I think they have laid foundation with respect to the technical skill sets that are needed to get a job, definitely, especially in ICT. However, the soft skills are a lot of time missing from a lot of candidates, right? And so they'll come, they have the first degree, the second degree, they have the certifications, they have all of these things. But when time comes for them to interview them, you realize that there's this big gap, right? I've sat on panels where at the end of it, you couldn't select anyone and such forth. And from my assessment over the years, it's because of certain soft skills that are missing. So when I say culture, what do I mean? You're coming to an organization. Do you do your research to, identify and realize what's the culture of that specific organization, or what are the layers of the culture that exist within the organization? And then ask yourself the question, for me, what culture would I be bringing to the organization? Because culture stratify like norms and values and ethics, those kind of things for a person, right? And those kind of things also for a business. And when we assess a lot of times and we ask the question, so for example, you will say to, and this was definitely I sat on an ICT panel to select something. They say, okay, information services department, we're all going on a weekend as a team. What are you doing? And the person's just kind of like that question. That question is really asking you about is pretty much putting before you say, this is the culture. Even though we're IT, this is our culture, right? Where we're bonding and such forth. So what are you doing? Are you coming along? And some persons will say, well, you don't have to think about the amount of work that I have and the deliverables and all of these things. Now, on one hand, while that is good, from a cultural standpoint, you really don't fit the team. And so we're going to go look for somebody else that while they have the technical competence just the same, but they're bringing something more to the organization, something more to the entity, right? They're coming with respect to the teamwork, the team spirit, the integration and integrating in the organization than you who are just going to come work, right? So that is something that you have to think about when you're going to. I know a lot of young people, and I use that because if you're under 35, you're considered to be a young person. Sometimes, and I hear one presenter talk about your attitude before we talk about that attitude, right? You have to check your attitude. That little saying that they say your attitude determines your attitude is a real big thing, right? Some persons are leaving, and I guess because at the university you're known as a top developer or the top ICT person, you have gotten all the awards. So you're coming to the end of the organization and you're coming believing you are it. You have to pretty much check yourselves when you're going to do that, right? You want to have what I would call it somewhat spirit, while you know you're hitting, and I take nothing away from anyone to say you know your skill. It's like when people talk to me about strategic management. To me, I know I'm skilled, right, as a strategist. But when I get in certain arena, I humble myself. You have to have a spirit of humility, right? And persons tend to look for that when you're in the interview, as to whether or not, is this person humble, just by how you're responding to questions, even how you project yourself as you sit there. The next thing is leadership. And here, leadership in the sense of, are you a transformational leader? And I like what the previous presenter said. So for me, I'm neither on the fence that leaders are born or that leaders are created. I think both exist, right? Because some persons, because of the position that they're placed in, the leadership in them will come out, or they will assume the leadership position. But some persons just naturally have it. The thing organizations are looking for is whether or not you are a transformational leader. We're living in changing times. Everything is pretty much externalities are at play. Dynamism of the external environment is on play the organization. Are you transformational? Are you a critical thinker, right? Or are you somebody that is just stuck in a box? So I hear a previous presenter and I keep going back to what they were saying. Talk about ICT persons being very, what the word I use is stick-to-itive, in that because you are the skilled person and you know it, this is on developing the software, and it doesn't matter what the business users are saying, them know what they want. Some may develop the software because me bright, me know it, and some may script it. You can't be like that, right? So when we talk about having leadership qualities, are you an active listener? Do you listen to people around you, Huh? Do you give them that here? Do you come with new ideas, problem-solving solutions? Do you know how to rally the team? Are you an influencer? And when we talk about influence, are you going to project positive influence on other team members? You see, a lot of times the interview questions that they're asking you, you should not just look at them as black and white, straight up what they're asking. There are little hidden things in the question that based on how you respond, they're looking to see if some of these things are going to come out, right? So I implore you to become a team lead, or even if you're not a team lead, because a lot of times leaders are not the people who are in the position. Leaders are in the position. So you're on the team, right? Do you have certain leadership qualities whereby if I should step out as the manager, if I should do come work Friday, can you keep things together? Or is that you pick up your box and go through the work? The interpersonal skills, which I think is very, very critical, has to do with you as a person, how you really relate to your inner team, and how you relate to persons outside of the organization. You see that little attitude that people have when they believe, boy, at some stage I'm an introvert, I don't want to deal with nobody. Yeah? I just want to sit down in my cubicle and code all day, and that's it. Or when we're done, I grab my bag and cut because I'm not dealing with it. Organizations don't want persons like that because we want persons that we can take up and send out to represent, right? As I've shared with you for the agency, honestly, and this is no bragging thing, but from I've been in customs, and maybe the only continent I've not gone to is Africa. Everywhere I've gone in the world is through the agency. I've personally never spent any money to buy a plane ticket for myself. Right? But that's because they see that I'm adaptable. That's because they see that this guy can go out there, and and I'll share something with you. Some years ago, I went to Peru to become a WCO accredited expert. And one of the things they pointed out to me, yes, I got through, but one of the things they pointed out to me was that, when they would say to you, you're a little chauvinistic, so you know your stuff, you know it, but how you bring it across to people is one as if you're saying, my ideas, me know it, you don't know anything. That's not what you're verbally communicating. But the body language and how you project, as I mentioned, was what they get. And they sat me down, and shared that with me. And honestly, I had to go on a journey where I had to change that thing about me. Yeah? Because I started to examine myself. So what am I saying here? One of the things you need to do, right, is sit and examine yourself. Don't just try to tick off all the positive things about you. But sometimes when you can identify what I call those deficits about yourself, and then start to work on it, just as though you work on the technical competence to get that PMP certificate or that Scrum certificate and that Microsoft certification and all that. It's the same way for the soft skills. You have to spend some time and invest, and work on those soft skills. Are you developing your emotional intelligence skills, right? IE is one of the big things now that organizations are looking for. Does this person have emotional intelligence? So, somebody have an issue, whether not, God forbid, somebody die for them or something not as probably as extreme, but something happened. Do you have a heart whereby you can empathize with the person, or you listen? Like if they have to get met, and I care where you go through, just have to get met. We need to deliver the software, we need to implement. Or are you going to say, you know what? hypothetical is a name, Sharon, you're out for today. Take some time and get yourself together, while the rest of the team are gonna hold it down and stuff. Those are some of the things that organizations are looking for. Again, to see whether or not you're coming to add value with respect to the soft skills to the organization. I mean, I tell you the honest truth. Everybody have degree now. That's what I like to say. Everybody have degree. Everybody doing certification. Sometimes the qualifications behind people name longer than even them very own name. It's the truth, right? So when you peel that away, where everybody getting these certifications, and I'm not saying we shouldn't get them in, because trust me, if I tell you, I've got mine and I'm getting more, right? But outside of that, what gives you that competitive advantage? So several of you are in this Google Developers Club, right? In 2006, when I graduated from UTech with my first degree, I sat under that skip gazebo. I think it's still there, and I said 65 of us is graduating out from my class. What gives me that competitive advantage over the next 64 persons? Why are organizations going to choose me over the next 64 persons? You have to start asking yourself that question. And so I'll say to you, separate apart from those other technical skills that you're going to make sure you package and have together, you have to make sure where the soft skills are concerned, you're doing some investment with respect to time, and even, there are a lot of free training out there. Yeah, there are a lot of free training out there. And there are a lot of videos on YouTube, right? And on Google that you can utilize to develop this skill set so that you can add some value. Are you customer focused? And I won't spend much time on this because I hear the presenters before me talking about the importance of paying attention to the end user in developing those business requirements, right? We have to start being hard-headed. And notice I say we, right? Because I've made that mistake before. I'm telling you, right? I just know I want to implement this system, right? And I'm forcing the change on people. And then at the end of the day, the system is underutilized, or there's just this resistance to it and stuff. Take a more customer focused approach. And notice I'm saying customer focused, where you're into delivering a better customer experience, not customer service, but a better customer experience to people. When people walk away from the solutions you have put forward, what are the benefits that they have realized? That's what matters. What was the value that your solution had to that person's life or the process, right? So pay attention to that. And then finally, are you kind? We look for that, whether you're a kind person. A lot of organizations are getting into corporate social responsibility, and they're looking for persons who are willing to volunteer. So I would say to you, from now, being in university, while I know it can be rough in trying to get through the academic courses that you're doing, but find some time to volunteer your service. Make sure that that resume can reflect that you carved out some time to give of yourself to others and share with others and stuff, right? So that is a selling point, because organizations say when this person comes inside the organization, they're going to add value with respect to how they can represent on the corporate social responsibility team, or they can come and develop programs within the organization that can help the image and reputation of the organization. And with that, I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. It was very insightful, as Cassandra says. We have time for one question. Anybody has a question? Brittany. So let's say Brittany's question and then move on. Is how and where we can find places to volunteer. I'm assuming she means that where how and where can we find places to
So there are many places. There are many places. So like for me, outside of I'm the vice chair for customs corporate social responsibility program, but I also do my own little charity stuff, where there's a place called Open Arms on Winona Road, where I give of my time And I have this thing where I try to gather stuff from people and donate to them. There are various boys' home, girls' home, children's home. When I was at UTech, I don't know, I used to do with Dr. Golden, and I was a part-time student. There was a place like that's no longer there on, I think that road is not Morasco Road, Lady Musgrave Road or one of them, that we used to go to and to the children's home and give up our time to that place and stuff. So look within your communities, within your churches. When I say community, I'm talking about social groups, churches, and such forth. Even this, what you're doing in terms of being a part of this club is a selling point. It's like when you used to go to high school and they used to tell you, make sure you do an extracurricular activity. And some persons go 5 years of high school life more and they never get involved in one thing. And then they leave and they're trying to get scholarships or they're trying to get jobs and they're wondering why they're not getting it. The truth is, your resume is not attractive. Your resume is like when some person send their resume to me for me to look at it. And all I see on it is the BS they have done and probably two certificate courses that they have done. And I'm asking myself the question, where am I going with this? And pardon, I'm losing the English in talking to you, but I just want to keep it real with you. I've asked myself a lot of times, where are they going with this? Because it doesn't sell it. They say, understand this, getting a job is 80% marketing, 20% based off your technical. Some persons can debate it with me, I will welcome it. But the truth is, whether or not from your resume, from that application letter on the resume, whether or not you're marketable, and then when you do it upon it or an individual, will you upsell? If you can't upsell, if you're just relying on technical skills, I don't see how you're going to compete. Because it's a very competitive environment.
That's
All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Stewart.
Are you here?
So, oh, yes, sir. Oh. Yes, sir. We can hear you. Can you hear us?
okay.
We're hearing you.
I guess he left. I mean,
Yeah.
guys, we're going to do the little thing afterwards.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I have a quick thing, right? We are giving away 5 digital credit to persons who follow our Instagram, right? So the first 5 persons who follow our Instagram will get this credit. We'll send you a direct message in Instagram. So check your DMs to see if you received it. I'll be posting or tag now. So the first 5 persons who join our Instagram link will be getting $100 credit. I'm looking out for them. Is he? Oh, I think he had some internet issues and dropped or something. But in the meantime, right, I want to thank all our presenters for coming out today. They were very, very informative sessions. We have gained a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that can help us in pursuing our careers and how to make ourselves more marketable so that we can achieve our dreams and goals in our careers. And I would like to thank you on behalf of all of our club members and advisors. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it.
Guys, I know we are saying that we're getting students to be work ready and all of that. But I want you to take away from this that you can build your own startups from these skills as well. So don't just limit yourself to working for people, because I know Damani here has his own business and Stephen Scale is also a lecturer. So don't limit yourself. And COVID has shown us that one stream of income is not the way to go. Right, guys? So,
Jenny?
yes,
Oh,
sir.
Sorry, I'm just joining back, and I think I'm gonna keep the video off because I think there is some buffering issue here.
Okay.
I just like to, if you may permit me, support your point on entrepreneurship.
Okay, thanks.
I'm not against, believe you me, I'm not against persons doing their degree and then coming out and looking a job. I support it, and that is how we have been cultured, and that is how we have been taught, right? But I'm a strong promoter and supporter of entrepreneurship, right? Um, I think from you're in university, and if you look at a lot of the tech giants and those who are the CEO or owners behind it and stuff, they took that risk and they started those companies and stuff. I myself personally have taken my risk and started, and I've been a part of companies. I mean, I've been more lean to the financial side of things and stuff. Now I'm looking to get into more consultancy services, for my own thing and corporate services that I do for corporate entities and that kind of stuff. So I want to encourage the persons here, look at those skill sets that you have and see how you can package it and offer, whether you develop a product or offer some kind of services. And I know our stay as Black people, yeah, but we need to break that cycle where the persons before us they go with and embrace partnerships. When you look at it, all other race, they partner with each other and have achieved success. The Black race is like it not exists for us and stuff. So, let's take that risk. Let's find people who are trustworthy and we can partner with them and come up with the next big solution or big thing. All right? So thank you.
I'm Sir Stephen, would you want to say anything regarding this as well?
Fully endorse this, Jamie. I believe that as a right risk management, you want to have multiple sources of income. Entrepreneurship, for me, is definitely the path to freedom and self-actualization. I mean, again, I'm also in support of seeking employment, and I think that employment can give you a lot of resources towards entrepreneurship, experience, network, skills you can learn. So it is certainly a viable path, but in the realities that we live in, we have to, in a practical sense, look for and take control of our destiny.
And Damani has this company called Tim. Everything that we should know. How could Damani? I want you to like tell the students about this as well, because I think it would be informative if you're there.
Still here. So Tim is a life skills training and development organization, and we focus primarily on young adults and teens by helping to bridge the gap that school and your parents and everybody left out, so that whenever you're transitioning from, say, university into real life adulthood, you have all the right tools so that you don't make the same mistakes that everybody else made, and you can make yourself a success because you have an understanding and a set of skills, real life practical skills that you only get with time and experience. So this is sort of like a cheat sheet for success, right? And that's what Tim is about. We have a program called Adulting 101. You can feel free to follow us on Instagram. That's adulting101_JA. And just follow the page. You can look out for when we have the developmental courses where we'll teach you different things about financial literacy, home ownership, time management, you name it. For IT professionals, we even actually have a special course that talks about enhancing customer experience for IT professionals. And for those of you who will become young managers, we have a course as well that is also tailored towards preparing young managers for leadership. So there are a lot of things like that we do because our objective is really and truly to impact the lives of the youth and really set them up for success in a big way, you know, so that your generation and those that come after you will be standing on a platform of success without having to go through all the mistakes that, you know, others have made. And just to round off what I was saying, I really like the points that were raised around entrepreneurship. And I want to just say to everybody that there is no perfect time to begin. You begin now, not later, not tomorrow, like literally right now. Use what you have right now. It is more than enough to start something. Even if it is just to create the blank Instagram page and there's no content on it, it is a step forward, is an action that you would have taken to bring your dreams and your aspirations into reality. So again, just take action now. You don't need the perfect environment. Just try and get a MVP, as I was telling you about earlier, a minimum viable product, and just push it out. Just push it out. Don't worry about the rest. You'll figure out everything as you go along.
So much for that, and I drop the link in the chat so you can follow his page. I mean, okay, we got the five winners. Okay, all right. So we come to the end. There's any other questions? Let me ask that question first. Thank you, Miss Sophia McNamara said she loved the entrepreneurship points. Excellent. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. We're going to close. The meeting actually closed at 6. I want to thank you again. I want to thank the speakers for being here. Without you, this wouldn't have been, a success. So thank you guys for being here. Yes, later. Bye.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right.
Guys, I'll be posting the link to the recording in the WhatsApp. Okay, guys? So if you will be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All the best.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.